Welcome back, everybody, to Sydney Spin. And as our conference gets even more exciting, not only are we bigger, better, but it feels like the upsets are just getting crazier. The biggest one from this past weekend is Iowa had their highest ranked win in over 10 years. They took down UCLA. Not only that, you saw Nebraska come back with a vengeance after dropping the series to Ohio State. They went and they swept the Minnesota Gophers. You had Northwestern able to take one from Mississippi State, who was a top 20 team, came all the way to Evanston. And what a big, exciting moment that was for the Big Ten to be able to host an SEC program. And the biggest winners from this weekend, we can't not talk about the Michigan Wolverines, who went 4-0 over in Oklahoma City. And we are bringing on a freshman sensation in Lauren Putz, who's been crushing it at the plate. Lauren, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I have been so excited to talk to you because the way you step up to the plate, you would never know that this is your first year. I want to just know, first of all, what has this season been like for you so far?
It's been really fun, really exciting. A little bit of nerves, still trying to settle in as a freshman on the team. But no, it's been really exciting. Fitting with the girls really well. Coaching staff is awesome. It's been fun playing these teams, especially Big Ten this weekend. Just getting a taste of what the Big Ten conference is like.
Yeah, let's talk about OKC. Your team was firing at all cylinders. And look at Lauren Durkowski on the mound. Not only that, you were hitting long balls, and so were the rest of your teammates. What were those 4 days like in Oklahoma City?
Just a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun having our pitching staff out there. Obviously, Lauren Dukowski, Aaron Hain, obviously pitching well in the circle. And then obviously our defense was really well this weekend. And offense also played a key role in scoring all those runs and having a 4-0 weekend. It was just fun, like, because we could trust each other offensively and defensively. So there wasn't a lot of tension. It was just a lot of, oh, I got out. Oh, this person has my back. So it was just a lot of that back and forth.
I always like to say hitting is contagious, and that's at least what it felt like watching for you guys. But I want to know, what are these conversations like? I just watch how you guys can all of a sudden put up multiple home runs a game, even an inning. So, what is it like, hitter to hitter? Are you guys talking between at bats? How much does it even just excite you to watch your teammates succeed, and then you get to go up to bat after them?
It's awesome. So usually before an inning, like our coach will come in, our hitting coach, Amanda Chittister, she'll come in and she'll say a couple words. Oh, like we're gonna do this in the box, or we're gonna choke up, move up in the box, whatever it is. And we just have like key phrases like, oh, like let's drive it up the middle. Oh, let's keep it simple, like not trying to do too much. And it's just kind of that stuff where we all put it in our head. And we have a phrase this year. It's called play for eight. So play for the 8 letters across your chest. So not being too selfish and just playing for each teammate on the team. So I feel like that also takes a little of the pressure off as each one of us goes up to bat.
You mentioned Amanda Chittister, and you guys have a star-studded coaching staff. Obviously led by Bonnie Thole. I think about Faith Canfield then as well for you guys. What is it like to learn from people who have been in your shoes before and succeeded wearing the same uniform, same cleats, and everything?
It's awesome. I really love having Manchester and Faith in the dugout, especially Bonnie on third base line. Even having Jen Brundage in the dugout is just like a big. They all support you and they all want the same thing for you. And just like learning from all those former players, now coaches, it's just great to have them because they went through the same things you did and they want the same things that you want. So it's like you could fully put your full trust into them, which also they put our trust back into us.
And I think for you, it's really special to see you now wearing the Michigan uniform. And for those who don't know, you come from a family full of, Wolverine blood. And
Mhm.
how I want to know, first of all, was it always Michigan? Your mom played softball there, your father played baseball. Has this been prime since you were born, or did you fall in love with the school all yourself too?
I would say I obviously was introduced to it a lot when I was younger. Just my parents are still big Wolverine fans, so it's always around my household, always having a game on in the family room. So just having that ties also made me fall in love with it at an early age. Coming out to visit some of my dad's old friends out here, going to football games, going to hockey games, even coming to softball games when they came out to Arizona. So obviously I grew up with it, and then I kind of made the decision to myself when it came to September 1st in my junior year. My parents obviously big Michigan fans. Their alma mater. So they obviously tried to take a step back and let me make my own decision, which was great. So they didn't make me feel pressured or anything to do the same thing that they did. But now they're just kind of watching it, enjoying it, taking it all in because I feel like it's not every day you have two parents and then a child go to their alma mater. So it's pretty cool.
Have they talked to you about those type of conversations of like being in the stands and being able to watch you now? And I know it's going to be really exciting for them to watch the home game officially this spring coming
Mhm.
up too.
Yeah, they have talked to me about it before. My dad, who was in OKC for a couple days this past weekend, like he's just like it's so cool to watch you. Like he's with all of the other parents in the stands. He has told me he's gotten a little bit emotional sometimes because it's such a surreal moment. And he'll be out here for Michigan State this week, which will be really cool. And then I'll be able to see my whole family in Oregon coming up next week. So no, they all think it's a pretty cool moment, and they're just trying to take it all in and not take anything for granted.
And I want to give your parents their flowers too. Obviously, your mom, a two-time All-American for the program, somebody who Bonnie felt incredibly familiar with, and they already
Mhm.
had a relationship, as you're mentioning, with your family coming to prior games. But then I look at your father, who, after Michigan went on to play at MLB, like you got to grow up watching him play still. You know, '07 was named to the MLB All-Star team. Do you have memories of watching him compete, and what was even like that like as a child?
I remember the earliest I remember is like when he played for the D-backs. Obviously, I was probably a little older, so I remember a little bit more. Just like being with like I remember going to this kid's room at the D-back stadium, just like watching him on TV, where my mom would be in the stands with all of her little girlfriends. So it's just obviously having that memory. And I would say that he definitely influenced me like sticking with softball, whereas like my mom, she grew up coaching me when I was younger. So she obviously gave me that introduction of it. So I'd say I feel like I'm more like my mom when it comes to softball, but I grew up watching my dad. So they both kind of had their own little like ties into me playing softball, I feel like, and me loving the sport more.
Did it feel surreal as a kid seeing your dad on TV, or is that just the norm for you?
I'd say I'd say it was 50-50. At some points, like when I would go like every week, I'd be like, oh, this is so normal. And then I go to school the next day and like all my friends are like, oh my God, your dad plays baseball. I was like, wait, it is kind of weird to think about. Like not a lot of parents do that. Like not a lot of my friends' parents played professional baseball or any professional sport. Um, but I kind of grew up thinking that it was pretty normal because that's kind of what I grew up with. Especially when I was younger, like it'd be me, my mom, and my twin sister. And then my dad always traveling, coming back and forth. So I didn't see him a lot growing up. But then once he retired and he started working with the D-backs in the office, like I saw him more. So I was like, okay, it's kind of normal. It's kind of normal now.
You mentioned your twin sister, and I know you also have three siblings in total.
Yes.
What was that relationship like? Bring me into what your household was growing up.
Yeah, so having a twin sister, you're built-in best friend, obviously. So always together, double trouble, as my mom would say. Um, so it's just good to have her. Like I actually called her earlier today as I was getting ready. But no, just having her as someone in my life who I can turn to, who I look up to as well. Because she's also doing a D1 sport at Lindenwood University. She's doing beach volleyball, so she's just as busy. So it was great having her. Like we would always be around each other, and then my mom, and then my brother and my younger sister Ethan and Addison also bring a lot of chaos to the household. Ethan grew up playing baseball and then ended up sticking with football because he didn't like the whole comparison thing with my dad, which makes sense. And then Addison's doing volleyball and softball now. So I don't know, just a very competitive family. So it made growing up in the household very, very fun. A lot of outdoor activities and just always on the move, which is why I feel like I'm so used to this like busy schedule already, just going from one thing to another with all of my siblings. So I grew up really in a fun household with a bunch of siblings. So
I was gonna say, can't even imagine how competitive, the
yeah,
backyard wiffle ball would have gotten between all of
yeah,
you.
yeah.
You talk about how this transition hasn't felt like anything for you. You said you're used to the chaos. You've done it so seamlessly. But I want to even take me back to the fall, what it was like joining this team for the very first time as a first year player, how they accepted you, and if you felt like you were at home right away.
Obviously moving away from Arizona all the way over here, it was a big change. So I was a little closed off at first, still trying to figure out like, oh, like I'm in this new state across the country, like I'm still trying to settle in a little bit. But no, once the first practice came around, like it instantly clicked. All the girls were so welcoming. Even like my class, we all kind of joined together, so it was a good it was a good little combination of all of us together. And yeah, once fall ball hit, like I feel like once we started playing, I feel like that's when we all started to get really, really close. And obviously, as we've been traveling for the past couple weeks a lot, we've all been really, really close. So in the fall, it definitely made transitioning easier having a team to turn to if I was feeling homesick or if I wasn't comfortable yet. So it was just good to have those people to look up to.
Road trips always bring on the best memories. And
Yes.
I want to know, has there been a favorite moment so far? Because you guys have been on the road a ton since February with
Mhm.
you and your teammates.
Ooh, I'm trying to think. A lot of good memories so far. I would say so far my favorite trip has been our spring break trip. We were gone for like a week and a half in North Carolina, so that was really fun. Just like being down in the lobby every night, trying to learn to play euchre and trying to learn all these new card games.
That's a tough
But
game to learn,
yes,
too.
it is very hard. I still have not learned how to play it, so I hope I learn to play sooner rather than later, so I can start playing. So just like being with all the girls together, like off the field, like in the lobby or in hotel rooms or just on the bus. Like we went to an escape room in North Carolina, and it was super fun just to be with like teammates who you wouldn't really hang out with outside of the field. Um, so it's just, I would say spring break has been my favorite memory overall, just because there was so much going on. A lot of games, a lot of bus rides, a lot of travel, a lot of card games. So it was just an exciting trip and where we really, really got close through that trip.
Yeah, and so often those moments leads to better play on the softball fields because you do build up that chemistry. And even just watching you guys in OKC, it felt like you were playing your best softball. Like, complete
Yeah.
softball is what I would say. I want to know, what has it been like for you even, and what has been the biggest thing you've learned just in yourself personally that you feel like has helped you succeed so much these last few weeks?
I would say for me, I'm always growing, trying to figure out how to stay neutral in the game, whether it's, oh, you hit a home run, like not trying to get too high, and if you like make a mistake, not trying to get too low. And I've talked about this a lot before, but I work with a mental coach, as you mentioned before, my NIL partnerships and stuff like that. So obviously, working with her, just trying to get in a calm mindset and not trying to get too high and too low. That's what I try to focus on when I'm playing. That's how I feel like I'm really competitive. Not trying to be like, oh, what's this particular pitch, or just trying to sink in and just see ball, hit ball. I feel like that's how I've grown into my competition game, especially in OKC this weekend, playing all those Big Ten teams, pitchers you've never seen before, with like a bunch of different pitches and spins and stuff like that. And I feel like our team overall is we've been focusing on the mental side of the game as well, which is probably why we've been competing a lot better in OKC. I feel like that's probably why we played our best that we've played so far this season. Just strong mentally, energy, controlling what we can control, and that overall led to our 4-0 weekend.
I love that you talk about the mental side of things because I don't think that sometimes there's a light shined on it bright enough.
Mhm.
And you said you just think see ball, hit ball. Is that what you're thinking every single time you step in the box? That simple.
I try to, yes. When I'm like on my game, I'm like, okay, just see the ball, hit the ball. And then sometimes I'm like, I overthink a little bit, and then I have to take a deep breath and just get back to my simple mindset. And that's what helps me personally. I grew up having that same mindset with my mom coaching me, with my dad helping coaching me, all throughout high school, just trying to see it and not trying to do too much, which has obviously led to obviously some RBIs and some home runs, which has been really, really helpful.
I
So.
love how you say some. Let's say 10 home runs, like 30 RBIs. Let's put some numbers to that. I love that though. And I think that can't be stressed enough for youth players who are tuning into this as well. So you think about that as you're heading into the box. I want to know after a game, say you went 3 for 3 or you went 0 for 3. What is your mental coach and approach after that?
For me personally, I just forget about it. I know a lot of people like to dwell on it, whether it's a negative or just soak it all in if it's like a positive. I try to just let it go. So when I get on the bus, I'm kind of neutral like this.
Mhm.
I just don't like to think about it too much because then I feel like I get in my head. Like if I had a bad day, if I went 0 for 4, I would just dwell on it and be like, oh, well, if I did this, if I did that, like you can't control that. So even if I went 3 for 3, like tomorrow's not going to be the same. You never know. So it's just to stay in that present mindset and not dwell on anything from the past. That's how I've learned I've been so successful mentally, is just not dwelling on the past and just keep moving forward at a neutral pace.
Yeah. Would you say the mental side is your superpower right now at the plate?
As of right now, yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love hearing that. Okay, I want to continue talking about your team a little bit more.
Mhm.
As you mentioned, you guys have Michigan State coming up. We're only getting started right now in the Big Ten season, which I always felt like was my favorite time to play in it. You're starting to feel that as well. Talk to me about where you think this group of women could go. You guys are playing your best softball. When you think about it, what are you most excited for these next few weeks to be able to show on the field?
I'm really excited for these next couple weeks and the rest of the Big Ten conference play. I think we can get very far. I think our offense, when we're on our game, our offense is unbeatable. When our pitchers are on game, they are unbeatable. Defense as well, like they back up our pitchers. It takes a lot of stress off our pitchers if our offense and defense is doing well. They just have to go in loose and pitch the ball. And especially with the team, like when we're on our game, we all trust each other. So none of us are trying to do too much. It's just see ball, hit ball, line drives on the ground, make the defense make plays. Like it's just something that we try to focus on. So I'm excited to see how that all works out for us this weekend and then over the next couple weeks.
And I love how we centered you are right now with your team. I just want to ask you one question about the other teams in terms of the Big Ten conference right now. As you know, I alluded to when we started, it's crazy, it's big, it's exciting. How fun is it too for you just to be able to come into this year, but really it's kind of a new chapter for the Big Ten as well, with so many new teams, and to have this conference be even bigger than ever before.
I'm excited. I obviously being my first year, I didn't know the Big Ten before this. So I think it's pretty cool being a freshman with the new expansion. It's just I feel like I'll get very comfortable with it, so it won't be that big of a drastic change for us freshmen personally, and I hope it's not too big of a drastic change for the team itself. But no, I'm excited. I'm excited for the competition. I'm excited for the games. Just being with the team and just like fighting against these other teams. I'm really excited to face UCLA, Washington, Oregon this next weekend. It's just all very exciting.
And what's neat about it is they now get to be introduced to programs like yours, who had
Yes.
such an incredible, rich history. I even look
Mhm.
at the pictures behind you, and I can't stop staring at all
Yeah.
the Big Ten champs. And I just look
Mhm.
at what Carol Hutchins and Bonnie Phil has built.
Mhm.
What does it mean, even stepping on this field, knowing how the uniform has been portrayed by strong women for years and years?
Obviously, it's a big culture aspect here. That's what we came in knowing. And they preach about the culture every day. And it's just, you're a part of that culture now. So it's a very cool feeling. Like, I'm wearing the same jerseys as Amanda Chittister wore and Faith Canfield wore, as my mom wore, my dad wore. Like, and it's not just softball, it's like the entire Michigan program. So it's just, you feel that connection with all of the other athletes now and before you. So it's just a very cool feeling and that you're a part of this giant culture along with like all the alumni from the past. So I think it's very cool and surreal for me.
Have you had conversations with your mom at all yet on just kind of comparing what each other's
Yeah,
experiences are like?
we have. It's pretty cool. They actually had a Michigan made series come and do softball for us. And so I did an episode with my mom on FaceTime talking about it. Like she just talks about obviously she was under Hutch when she was coaching and I'm under Bonnie. So it's just kind of cool to think about. Like she talks about her bus rides and I talk about mine. Like obviously we don't bus as much as they did because the conference expansion now. But it's just funny hearing her memories and then me telling her like I call her every day and I'm like, oh, like this weekend this happened. And she's like, oh my God, I remember when we did this. So it's just like it's a very fun experience to share with my mom. Because I do feel like her and my dad are here with me through this journey. Um, Even though like I try and not think about it because I've always had them in my shadow or me being in their shadow growing up, whether it was high school or now. And I honestly am trying to embrace it more just because it's a very cool situation to be in. So it's cool to have my parents by my side with it through it all.
I love how candid you are too, because I'm sure that's something other players have dealt with whose parents, but I think you're embracing it in a way is that it's just giving you this really neat story, and now this journey is completely your own. And I know it's crazy to think about 4 years down the road, but the mark you're making already as a first year player is so special. What do you really hope to do? Again, wide lens, big picture during your time at Michigan's here with Michigan softball?
I just want to leave an impact. Like I want to leave an impact as all of the coaches we have now have left an impact, and that's why they're here today, coaching this team. Like all of the former players who made an impact, as you can see, like all of the teams back here who made it on the wall, who made an impact in the culture of Michigan softball. So I just want to make an impact on this team and the teams in the future, in the next 3 years. Just that future players have like people to look to for culture and look to who need a role model and want to just like see the culture of Michigan softball.
Yeah. And as we wrap it up, I want to give you a chance. What's one thing people should know about this team?
Ooh, I'd say that we're a gritty team and that we will fight for whatever we want, no matter how hard the battle is, no matter what team it is, we will fight till the very end.
Ah, that is too good. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for taking the time and to chat with me here today. Especially, I mean, for those who don't know, they got in around like after midnight from OKC. So she's
Yes.
waking up on her day off and here to talk with all of us. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
And thank you to everybody who tuned in to watch this episode with Michigan softball. We'll be back next week with Sydney Spin.